Do we have some other questions? What I would suggest is that if you agree, we could also go to the back, and tenemos un micrófono que se va al fondo de la sala para ver los que tienen preguntas, si se pueden identificar, por favor, al principio. Well, while we are working through, let me ask you a question, and that would be, out of this experience that you and your team have had, what is the most significant lesson that you bring or that you take from that experience? Because it's been a very intense two and a half, if not longer. We've talked about 5 years that you've been engaged on this project last night. So what would be the most significant lesson from your perspective?
I think it's just the power of ordinary people. When they come together, they can do more than you expect. And so no matter whether you're delivering services to them or trying to mobilize them or asking for their help or asking for their feedback, doing it in an honest and transparent and authentic way, and being truly open to their participation, every step of the way people surprise you. And so, it's easy to be burdened by the responsibilities of governing or running an organization or campaign or whatever it is, but, recognizing that there are people out there with energy, with intelligence, with special skills and talents who will surprise you every time when you invest in them. That's been the takeaway.
And the biggest surprise?
That people actually are willing to do those things. I guess is it's always a surprise when you ask people to do something or make some phone calls or especially in this economy, to give you some money to run a campaign or for any of the nonprofit organizations I work with. It's always a surprise, because you look at the numbers on a graph or on a screen, but it always comes back to there's one person sitting there and you're in their inbox with an email above the message from their spouse and below the message from their boss, and they have to take the time to look at it and consume something and decide what to do. And people make that decision and decide to write a letter to the editor, to attend an offline event, and just that single moment of inspiration and decision that people take is it's a surprise every time.
Do we have some other questions from the floor? I see a hand, difficult to see, but could you stand? ¿Usted se puede levantar, por favor, para que el micrófono se puede llegar a usted? ¿Y si puede
Hola, buen día.
identificar?
Buen día, mi nombre es Villamil, del Banco de Previsión Social de aquí de Uruguay. Hola, Villamil del Banco de Previsión Social de aquí de Uruguay. La pregunta es en cuanto a tecnología en sí. Usted mencionó que usó intensivamente las redes tipo Facebook, blog, YouTube también. ¿Tuvieron que desarrollar alguna aplicación más? ¿Hicieron alguna aplicación de software más? ¿Cuánto invirtieron en tecnología? ¿Tuvieron que invertir en tecnología específicamente para potenciar toda esta organización que hicieron? ¿O solamente se basaron en las redes existentes y en el acceso a Internet de los ciudadanos?
Yep. The question about the external networks and whatnot, we treated the other existing social networks and things like MySpace and Facebook, and actually a huge one for us was Black Planet, which is a site for African Americans. We treated them like little embassies across the internet. So we would go into the country and we would try to speak the language as much as possible and obey the customs and norms of how people behave in these different networks, because they're all different cultures. But ultimately it was about driving people back to back home. So promoting immigration and tourism, if you will, to BarakObama.com, which was where we really wanted people to go. And so that was the core of our program, was integrating the home site with the traditional campaign organization and getting as many people as possible to come join it. So, obviously these networks and all organizations have an ability and an opportunity to go engage people on their different terms on different social networks or sites where they exist, but it has to be something that is part of a strategy to drive people into the actual delivery of whatever it is you're doing. So in our case, it was putting people into the traditional field organization.